Have you ever been caught up in so much masculine energy that all of a sudden you feel depleted? You feel overwhelmed? You feel like you're not grounded, and all of a sudden you just want to throw in the towel? Well, that's all a sign that you are leaking and potentially emptying your feminine energy tank. Stay tuned because in this episode, I'm going to give you 3 different ways that you can fill that feminine energy tank back up again. We all have situations, experiences, and moments in our life when we know deep at our core we have to do something different. We have to pivot. And regardless of how big or small that pivot is, it requires us to change something in our life. And that change can feel really uncomfortable. However, it is that change that is creating something entirely new. And it is that newness that creates a very different way of life in one area or multiple areas of our life. What's this all about? It is all about reinventing thyself. My name is Michelle Shutter, and I'd like to welcome you to Reinventing Thyself. I am so glad that you joined me today because it is here that we'll move beyond our old self, our old identity, and that trailer of garbage from the past that we like to pull into the future, but really need to ditch that hitch. It is here that we'll move into that place of reinvention and embracing the newness of it all. Are you ready to step into reinventing thyself? Because guess what? It is never too late, and your time is now. Let's get started. Hey, beautiful soul. Welcome again to this week's episode of Reinventing Thyself. My name is Michelle Shutter, and super glad that you are here with me today because today we're going to talk about filling up that feminine energy tank. Yes, a really important piece that we cannot ignore. So I am super excited that you are here. And before I dive into that a little bit, someone had asked me, what exactly is reinventing thyself? And when I think about that, I think about change. And when I think about reinventing ourselves, it's a new beginning. And let's face it, we go through new beginnings every single day, right? We get up in the morning, we put our feet on the floor, it's a new beginning. We can't always predict what is going to happen throughout the day, but in some way, shape, or form, we are reinventing ourselves. It can be in a good way that serves us and our higher self, or it can also be in a bad way that doesn't serve our higher self. And when I think about how we can serve our higher self and really step into that new place, it's really about being a woman and moving boldly through that new beginning and beyond. And when I think about moving boldly, it's moving with confidence. It's moving with courage. It's really not having to be certain about everything, but trusting the process that it's going to evolve exactly the way it should. And when we can embrace the change, even though our ego mind may say, I'm not ready to do this, I don't want to do this, but we can step boldly and move boldly through that new beginning, it really spills into all areas of our life. And so when you think about reinventing yourself, I want you to think about different times in your life where potentially you started over or there was something new you wanted to do. On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being absolutely and with 1 being I shriveled up and retreated, where are you in moving boldly, or where were you in terms of moving boldly through that new beginning? Because that's where my hope and my wish and my desire for you is that from this point forward, you move boldly through that new beginning with confidence and with courage and with the ever-knowing trust that it is going to work out for you exactly the way it should be. And one of those ways to do that is to make sure our feminine energy tank is not depleted and that it's not leaking. So in this episode, I want to talk about that a little bit more. And many times when we are reinventing ourselves, we think it's, oh, okay, I got to do this number one, then number two, number three, number four, number five, like, and I'm going to just cross it off my list and move to the next thing. And yes, some of that is important, but we have to remember that that is a lot of masculine energy coming through. And when I talk about masculine energy, remember it's not gender specific. Feminine and masculine energy is not feminine or is not gender specific. Both males and females experience both energies. But when we refer to masculine energy, we're talking about being like ultra disciplined, ultra focused. There's a piece of sometimes controlling that comes in there. We're afraid to fail. We want to make sure that we create success and we're attached to that outcome of success. And there's really a decisiveness that comes in. And when we're in that energy for the majority of the time, unconsciously, we begin to leak our feminine energy tank. And it can leak out to the point where it becomes depleted, where it's empty. And when we think of feminine energy is really about flow. It's about being. It's about the presence in the moment. It's not about always the doing of the masculine energy, but it's that playfulness, that creative side that wants to express itself. It's that nurturing part of us, being the receiver, being open, the connectedness. Like all of that is so important when we are reinventing ourselves. And yet, many times we ignore that piece of us. And we ignore that piece of us because I think, especially if you're a mom, if you've got additional responsibilities outside the home, if you take on a lot of extras in terms of always being a giver, like we can get so caught up in that masculine energy to the point that it feels really comfortable. And when we want to tap into the feminine energy, it feels uncomfortable. And so we don't spend time there. We don't acknowledge it. And we run from it and retreat back to that masculine because that's what feels good. And essentially what we've created is just an addiction to the masculine energy, because somehow, somewhere along the way, we've connected that masculine energy to our worthiness. And without that worthiness, like, who are we, right? So when we think of reinventing thyself, it's really about bringing harmony to both these energies so that they can be beautifully intertwined and work cohesively together rather than one being dominant over the other. And some people, will think about it as a balance. And yes, that certainly holds true. However, when I think of balance, we think of it having to be equal. And that isn't the case. It's really a fluidity that goes between both energies. And that's why I like to call it more of a harmony between the energies, because if we're not aware, we can swing that pendulum way to the other side. And let's just use the masculine energy again. We can swing that pendulum way to the other side of masculine energy and be totally depleted in the feminine. Well, that's out of balance. However, when you harmonize it, you potentially could be in that high masculine, but you have the awareness that that's where you are. And so when you swing back, you're swinging back and integrating and bringing that feminine energy. It's not like this swing to the left, swing to the right and crash, right? It is just that harmony of bringing that back together. Now, how do you know, like, if that tank is empty, right? Well, let's just say your stress level is creeping up. Let's say you've got some overwhelm, some anxiousness, some worrying that's starting to creep in. Well, that is all because we've spent so much time in that masculine energy and we haven't acknowledged and honored the feminine energy within us. When we start, to worry and in that state of overwhelm, like, that's when all of our judgment comes up. So then that vicious voice is popping up and chirping in our ear, and I told you so, right? This wasn't gonna work, whatever. It's just that it's not the kind voice that we really deserve to have in a time where we are feeling overwhelmed. And when we start to judge ourselves, then we move into this place of being wounded, and it just like spirals out of control, right? And all of a sudden we're the victim of the situation, and right? Like, let's put the brake on it all. Let's put the brake on it all. And let's talk about like get back into filling that feminine energy tank. Now, the first thing is to realize you have to be aware that that's where you are energetically, that you've tapped into way too much masculine energy, and it's time to bring those back together and release some of that masculine energy and pick up some feminine and have that work together in a harmonious manner. It's never too late. And I think some people think, oh yeah, no, it's never too late. The one thing I want to caution you on, because this happened to me, is when you were in that masculine energy for so long, and like it can be years, people, it can be years that you are in this high overdrive masculine energy. And when you go and then think that you want to bring in that feminine energy, all of a sudden you are like in it. You are full in feminine energy, and that's not good either. Because all of a sudden this feminine energy feels so great, right? It's so chill, it's in the flow, it's relaxed. Sometimes you might even feel lazy, unproductive, because it's just being in that space and opposite of the masculine energy. But that isn't good either. So you have to make sure that you are completely aware of the energies that you're tapping into. And one of the ways that you can do that is actually through dance. So let's talk about dance a little bit, right? Dance is one of those things where sometimes you love it or you hate it. Sometimes dance, it puts you in that place where, oh my gosh, I could never do that because I would be so embarrassed, right? But dance is a beautiful thing for the body. And remember, the feminine energy like wants to be in flow. It loves the movement. So finding some favorite music where you can just like move that body, move those hips, move those shoulders, just letting that energy move through you through the music and movement of dance will definitely start to fill your feminine energy tank. The feminine energy is all about creation and expression. And so when you are dancing, you are using a creative side to you. Just feel into the music. Don't like judge yourself about it. Just feel into the music. Let it be a piece of expression for you, and allow yourself to just feel alive in that moment. Now, you can do that wherever you feel most comfortable, right? Like you could do it with somebody, you could have a dance party with somebody else or multiple people, your family. You could dance in the shower. You could wait till everybody leaves and like just move and find that flow of feminine energy through dance in your living room, right? Whatever works for you, but that beautiful movement of dance and moving your body will certainly move your meter of your feminine energy tank up, okay? So that's the first thing. Another thing that you can do to really increase your feminine energy is to take a walk in nature. Now, when you go for this walk, there is no phone, nothing you're listening to. You're just in a space of being in the moment, being in the walk, fully taking in your surroundings. If you can walk through a forest, if you can walk by water, all of that will serve you greatly. And when you're on this walk, like be an observer. Be an observer of what is around you, but then also be an observer of what you're feeling in your body. Be an observer of your thoughts. Like, are your thoughts like, I don't have time for this. This is crazy. What a bunch of BS, right? Well, that's that ego mind trying to move you back into that masculine energy. Because again, that's the space that it has felt the most comfortable for so long. So really be an observer. And again, no distractions on this walk. One thing that I have found is that when I do take a walk like this, and many times I take my dog, like I just feel like smiling when I'm done. Like I just feel so filled up inside. And there's a couple places around here where I can walk through the woods and be by just like a creek, a little river, type of thing that flows through our area. But it is so freeing in so many ways just to be in that space of being and just observing. Okay, so that's the second thing. The third thing is you want to be able to feel supported. And one of the best ways you can do that is to really connect with those women, those girlfriends that fill you up. And last week I went out to dinner with, 3 really good friends of mine. Love our time together. Our time isn't nearly enough together, but when the 4 of us can get together, it just is, it's full of laughter. It's full of smiles. It's full of great conversation, a great meal, a glass of wine. Like all of that was so important to fill that feminine energy tank. And when you are with like-minded individuals, when you're with that other females that really can have that emotional expression as well, like it is just this beautiful gift of giving and receiving throughout the entire time that you're together. It just is such a beautiful space to be in. And when you haven't had that in a long time, like it's depleting. It really depletes your tank. And I guess I didn't realize it, and probably because, of the situation of 2020 and 21. But it really, after a while, just starts to put an empty space within me. And I know that that's just a sign for me that my feminine energy tank is depleting. And so I've really made a conscious effort of, okay, like each week or every 2 weeks, like I want to connect with somebody that really fills me up, right? And somebody that is going to have this exchange with me of that feminine energy, and really just a space of being able to just be in that feminine energy. And again, when you can do that, there fills your tank. And so you walk away from these 3 examples with your tank filling up and the awareness of, okay, I can't stay in this masculine energy this entire time. How can I bring more harmony to both these energies? What do I need to do going forward so that I don't deplete my tank over time, right? And sometimes it doesn't take very much and your tank can be depleted, especially if your masculine energy is in overdrive. And I also noticed that once I became more aware that I wasn't honoring my feminine energy and I wasn't really tapping into that in a powerful way, that when I went back into the masculine energy, my feminine energy tank depleted quicker. And I think the reason for that is like I knew what that feminine energy felt like. I knew that experience of it. And so now myself was craving to have more of that in my life as well. So again, it's this harmony that we want to bring together between the masculine and the feminine energy. So if you're feeling like that feminine energy tank is depleting on you, perhaps you want to try one of these 3 ways to fill it back up. Number 1, dance, move that body, move those hips. Number 2, take a walk in nature, through the forest, through the woods, no cell phone. Take a walk by water, right? Just be an observer of yourself, of your thoughts, of your feelings, and your surroundings. And then number 3 is just make time in your calendar to spend time with those other individuals that really fuel your heart, really that fill you up, that you can have great conversation with, that brings out the laughter and the smiles and everything that allows you to have that emotional expression. So These were just 3 ways that you can fill your feminine energy tank. I would love to hear ways that you also, what you do, I guess, to fill your feminine energy tank. What is something that you do that we can share with others as well? And you can do that by just dropping a comment with this video if you're watching on video, or if there's an opportunity, depending where the podcast is posted, or just shoot me an email or a message in Messenger. And all those details are in the description or the show notes with this episode. So today, my wish for you is that you go forward and really just embrace the newness of change. That newness of change, that new beginning that is calling you to reinvent yourself in some way. Lean into it. When we try to resist it, sometimes we go into more angst and more overwhelm rather than just leaning into it. And if you're looking for some support around that, be sure you take advantage of my 5-day video series, and you can find that at reinventingthyself.com. So just remember, the change is here because you're ready. Your ego mind may not think that you are ready, and it will probably want to analyze and logically justify everything, but it's showing up because you're ready. And when you are ready, it's really about creating something that is aligned with your heart and soul. And I would love for you to move boldly through this new beginning and beyond. And if you're looking for some support around that, shoot me a message. I'd love to support you in your new beginning. Until next time. Well, what are you waiting for? Whether you've pivoted and are unsure, or you're on the verge of pivoting, there is no better time than now for you to begin. Want to know why? Because if it wasn't the right time, the pivot wouldn't have shown up. And to get you started, I've got 3 shortcuts to reinventing thyself. Just head on over to www.reinventingthyself.com and you can download it there. And don't forget to message me with the shortcut that resonates with you the most. One last thing. I know you and I are not the only ones that have leaned into the pivot. Be sure to share this with others so they can be supported too. And from the bottom of my heart, thank you for supporting me and sharing this message. Until next time.